The Hizmet movement represents a stark alternative to the stereotypes that often circulate about Islam. Hizmet means service. And the individuals who are inspired by the teachings of Hojaefendi, Fethullah Gulen, are dedicated to living a life of service. On education as a way to alleviate wealth generation. Hizmet also grew up in Turkey. Of all stakeholders connected to. My name is John Pahl, and I am the Peter Paul and Elizabeth Hagen Professor of History at the Lutheran Theological Seminary at Philadelphia. I also direct MA programs there, including a program that focuses on public leadership. I first encountered the Hizmet movement when I was invited to an Iftar dinner here in Philadelphia. Father Tom Michel was the keynote speaker, and at this Iftar dinner he read to us excerpts from Fethullah Gulen's Toward a Global Civilization of Love and Tolerance, and it was very eye-opening for me. I had no idea what I was getting into when I went to an Iftar dinner, and yet it changed my life. My interest in the Hizmet movement has grown significantly over the years, and my appreciation for the Hizmet movement has also grown. I speak with audiences all over the country, all around the world, and I say that the Hizmet movement, aside from changing my life personally and acquainting me with many dear friends now, sisters and brothers around the world, the Hizmet movement focuses on education as a way to alleviate ignorance, wealth generation and social enterprise as a way to alleviate poverty, and interreligious dialogue as a way to overcome division and conflict between people. I can't imagine three more important causes, and therefore, as I have continued my familiarity and growth and understanding of Hizmet, my appreciation for the movement has also deepened in all three areas. Hizmet is deeply rooted in Islam, of course, but Hizmet also grew up in Turkey. And the distinctive history of Turkey casts a particular character to the Hizmet movement. Turkey, of course, is a secular republic, and that openness that follows from a secular society is also found within Hizmet. So you have an interesting blend of secularity and appreciation for difference, while at the same time being deeply grounded in Islamic thought and practice. And that combination is not unique in the Muslim world, but certainly distinctive, and I think a voice that many other Muslim groups and many Christian groups would also benefit from hearing more regularly. The most significant contribution of the Hizmet movement is in changing the character of business. As I see it, at its best, the Hizmet movement fosters social enterprise. That is, it organizes business on behalf not of the quarterly bottom line of shareholders, but the benefit of all stakeholders connected to an agency. For too long, business has been divorced from spirituality. What Hizmet does, as I understand it, is takes the spirit of Islam, the spirit of peace, the spirit of cooperation, the spirit of unity, tawhid, and puts it into practice through capitalism. This is a great experiment and very promising both for the Muslim world and for the world of business, given the kinds of inequalities we are seeing develop around the world. The Hizmet movement represents a stark alternative to the stereotypes that often circulate about Islam. Hizmet means service. And the individuals who are inspired by the teachings of Hojaefendi, Fethullah Gulen, are dedicated to living a life of service. I find this extremely important as a Lutheran. It's a crucial part of my faith tradition. Our founder, Martin Luther, said in his most famous book, Christian Liberty, that a Christian is a perfectly free servant of none, subject to none, and a Christian is a perfectly dutiful servant of all, subject to all. That combination of freedom and respect for others that follows from it, but then also service, wanting to work hard on behalf of the common good, is what I see at work among people of Hizmet. I've read most of Fethullah Gulen's works that have been translated into English, and I find him a very intelligent, widely informed, and faithful writer. I appreciate especially his emphasis on forgiveness and on unity. How despite our differences and across our differences, we can still cooperate. He's a fine reader of the Quran, a student of the Quran, faithful to the tradition, and yet open to dialogue with others. I recommend especially his book, Toward a Global Civilization of Love and Tolerance, which I have used in my own teaching every year for the last 5 years, and my students find it a very rich resource. So I recommend his writings. It's crucial that Muslims dialogue with others, and I am profoundly grateful for the opportunities not only to dialogue together but to pray together that I have had with my Muslim brothers. It seems to me that if we don't talk with each other, we can't possibly understand each other. And so dialogue, conversation is the crucial first step in building the trust that's necessary for a more peaceful world. Skeptics of inter-religious dialogue have a point in that dialogue isn't enough. And yet, dialogue hasn't really been tried. It's only been around intentionally for less than a century, which is a blip in the span of human history. And yet, what we have seen in those cultures and societies where religious dialogue has really developed and fostered movements for justice and peace, remarkable success has followed. So when dialogue has been tried, it has succeeded. And the evidence is not about a utopia. The evidence is right in front of us in one nonviolent movement for social change after another around the globe. It's a remarkable record, and the story really hasn't been told well by historians to date. Hizmet contributes to community building by bringing people together, by encouraging us to eat together. It's one of the great joys of life to, share a meal with one another. And I've been fortunate to attend Hizmet dinners all over the United States and around the globe, where people who otherwise would not be sitting at the same table, people who might even be enemies in everyday life, for a moment at least, are brought together to recognize their common humanity around a meal. And that's a huge contribution to the common good, even though sometimes it doesn't seem significant. It helps build the trust that is the deepest and most important element in peace building. I welcome the work of people of Hizmet on behalf of charity, and especially in relief situations around the globe. My own tradition, again, the Lutheran tradition, we have an NGO called Lutheran World Relief that's also active wherever need exists. And it seems to me this is the highest articulation or expression of the religious experience and of religious truth. That is to serve not with words, but with deeds, and to do what we can to alleviate unnecessary suffering around the globe. So I welcome the activity of agencies such as Kim Se-yok Mu around the globe on behalf of those who are in need. I've been fortunate to visit many of the schools built by individuals inspired by to Hizmet in Albania, in Kampala, Uganda, and Nairobi, Kenya. And consistently, the schools are excellent, modern facilities, and the education, from what I can see, aspires to be the best in the region. As a teacher myself, of course, I am committed to education, to critical thought, and to learning as the most sure path to development and peace. And the schools that have been built by peoples of Hizmet around the globe truly forge a movement that benefits the common good. One of the beauties of the schools inspired by Fethullah Gulen and led by people of Hizmet is that they bring together science and spirituality. For too long, there's been a divide between knowing and feeling, understanding and loving. And what the Hizmet schools try to do, as I understand it, is engage people with the best of scientific knowledge at the highest levels of research in the conviction that whatever is discovered by way of truth cannot possibly contradict what God intends for us, because truth finally is one. I look forward to the Hizmet movement's full acceptance in the Turkish Republic as a strong component of civil society. It's easy for those who are in power to divide and conquer, but true strength comes from cooperation, from working with one another, from through developing power with others. And it seems to me this is what the Hizmet movement has to contribute, not only to Turkish society, where it began and where it continues to flourish, and I hope will continue to flourish for a long time, but also then around the globe as well. So I see Hizmet as a profoundly Turkish movement, profoundly Muslim movement, and a profoundly human movement on behalf of the common good.
I don't think there is any doubt about Hojaefendi's patriotism. He makes this very clear in one of his books, The Statue of Our Souls. He sees not that Turkey has to be a Muslim country or a totally secular country. He wants the best for that country and then for the world. I think that he is a gentle person who does not have a political agenda at all.
I think where this movement is different is where it brings it more personal. And it brings people into each other's homes and into each other's hearts in a way that will really transform people.